Yay, we're live. This is our second Blocks and Frocks, which is a weekly short conversation. Frocks means it's mostly women. We're going to or people who identify as women. That's what we're going to go for. Talking about interesting things in this space, the Web3 space. So today, my name is Gillian Gotzel, and with Lisa, we are both the owners of Blockleaders, and we work as both journalists. And today our guests are Irina Karagwa, which I'm not saying that right, am I? And Corby Hare. So Irina, I'll look at you first. You want to explain a little bit who you are, and then Corby will ask you, and then we'll jump into the conversation.
Thank you, Julian and Lisa, for putting this together. This is very exciting. Very happy to be here today. So I'm the head of Metaverse growth at Unique Network, where I'm growing the Metaverse, growing the ecosystem, onboarding projects who want to build exciting things in the NFT space. And today I'm very happy to have this conversation about the future of the Metaverse and where we're going and how we can have more utility and more application of this virtual environment and the Web3 economy to the real world.
Brilliant. And Corby, I should say, who is the genius behind the name, Blocks and Frocks, who is an amazing woman.
Great. Well, it's great to be on. Thank you for inviting me as well. So I run a boutique agency called House of Block, which really is a group designed around events, podcasts and networking. So I run a couple of networking clubs, coincidentally in the NFT and Metaverse space. And also my passion is really the blockchain enterprise space, really looking at the intersection of technologies, that's AI, IoT and blockchain, all working together and developing solutions. So anything to do with blockchain for good is really my big mantra. So I'm delighted to join you and have a relaxing conversation on a Friday afternoon.
All we need is a glass of wine. It's a bit early. So Lisa, just before we went live, you were saying you read Irina's article. So maybe can you explain a bit about the article, and then we can ask Irina questions about the space and the Metaverse and whoa.
Do you know what? I just read Irina's article. It's on Being Crypto, which is another publication that everyone in crypto will be familiar with. And it's such a big vision that I'd like Irina to explain it. But I did write down the MME, which is not the MMA, not the fighting or whatever. The MME is the Metaverse Multiplanetary Experience. Can you explain a bit about that? Because that is incredible.
Well, the idea behind the article was to write, like, how can we use the Metaverse to facilitate space exploration? And what I thought, when Being Crypto asked me that question, is that we spend so much time and we put so many resources into space exploration, and we still have problems to fix on Earth. So why don't we use our resources and this new technology and this virtual space as a sandbox to create concepts, economic concepts, social concepts, to actually facilitate, like, improve the world we live in, and also create concepts and ideas that will help us explore the space at the same time. Because while sort of gamifying this experience and bringing people together on this virtual social platform, because now you can be connected to this virtual world from elsewhere, that it's enough to have your mobile phone and internet connection to be united. And this we did not have back in the 60s when the first space exploration happened. So now we live in a completely different world, and we have so many talented, brilliant people all over the globe that we can use, all these intellectual resources to actually power our space exploration, as well as, applying scientific concepts, economic concepts to the actual world we're living in right now. Because there's so much we need to fix with our current economy, fiat currencies, banking system, creative economy, so many things to fix that using the Metaverse as a sandbox concept, to me, sounds like a plan.
I suppose it's like an extension, is it, of when astronauts go up to space, they practice in zero gravity. That's a physical, so it actually makes a lot of sense to bring people in and have them explore the conditions and the problems and the solutions that might be out there. Wow, that's a different use of a metaverse than just wandering around and going to gigs. Well, that's good fun too.
It definitely is. But like, what excites people, right? Everybody's excited about going to the moon. We at Unique Network are planning to go to Pluto. So, you know, for their mission, a little bit more ambitious plans. And because we need this big idea. I feel like, you know, I've been watching a lot of documentaries about data, privacy, artificial intelligence lately. And what I feel is that we kind of like lost the big meaning of life. There's so much consumption, there is so much material in the world that we need to have this big idea and big purpose in life as a species, as humanity. We need to aim for something beyond our capabilities to grow spiritually, to invent things, to improve the world we live in. That this concept of space exploration is kind of coming back through the crypto industry, because everybody is with the spaceships and moon concept. And it's exciting because I feel like we are finally finding the meaning of life beyond just, you know, going out, watching movies, food deliveries, and things like that. I think that also pandemia played a crucial role in society in terms of reassessing the time, the resources, because we've been in a kind of on and off lockdown for 2 years. So the time concept has changed for many of us, because before that we were just, you know, being like, there was no obstacle for fly to another country or to meet for an event. And now things have changed. And we have realized that something can happen and the world can change dramatically in a matter of, you know, days. And you can no longer have the same ability. You can no longer have the same job or the same way of living. And it is important to be ready to these kind of situations. So I think we kind of woke up in this pandemic and we realized that, you know, the way we lived is not safe. We had a kind of false concept of safety. Like, it was very comfortable. You know, people were getting comfortable, but at the same time, there is a huge economic problem, especially in countries like United States, where people like, you know, with wages, working full time, are still not making a living, not able to pay the bills and have a comfortable life. And then when the economy got shut down, we discovered a lot of vulnerabilities. So on one hand, we have this like Instagram kind of artificial life that everything is amazing, and I'm an influencer, and you know, I live my glamorous life, but on the internet very superficially. And then we have a problem of people working in McDonald's and earning minimum wage and you know, being in debt, in, you know, not even having sense in life and knowing how to get out of that economic situation. And it cannot be happening, because a person working full time should not ever be facing an issue of not being able to ever buy a house or have a you know, comfortable living. It just cannot be happening in the 21st century.
It's like we've gone back to feudal times when, you know, you were a worker. That was it. You just worked. And you put food on the table if you were lucky, and you had no holidays. You might have a day off, a Christmas day or something. And our expectations are so much more. Corby, how did you find the lockdown? Did you find that?
Yeah, it's interesting. I was just really listening to what you were saying. It's great having different perspectives. And I mean, I think in the lockdown, I think you're absolutely right, Irina. I think we've all been so busy just doing our day jobs, commuting, catching planes, going to conferences, speaking, that there was that in a way around the world, a lot of creativity has been stifled. And I see it in some ways that it's done society, you know, it's given some people a chance to step back and almost reinvent the wheel. I mean, digital transformation has just accelerated beyond belief in the last sort of 2-3 years, certainly in the industry sectors that I speak in, like the Internet of Things, etc. And look at the explosion of what happened with the cryptocurrency and the values over the lockdown period, you know, like Ethereum jumping from 300 up to 3,000, etc. I think there's been a lot of people in that time that have in the metaverse, like you said, it's not a new concept. It's been featured in novels, Ready Player One in the film most recently. I just think with people being locked down, sitting on all these ideas and innovation, the lockdown period gave people to sort of bring that to life. And you're right, I think really as humans, we all need social contact. And there's, in many ways, walking into the metaverse is one step on from Zoom, like what we're doing now. And you've probably seen similar videos that I've seen, Nick Clegg sitting in the metaverse, having meetings, etc. So I'm sort of looking at it with a business lens. And I think, the development of technology can and will hopefully enable more traceability, which engenders trust. I mean, looking at blockchain and what it's all about, and DeFi, decentralized finance, making it possible for people to have wealth, and breaking down the old sort of state systems. Because you're right, I think people have lost faith in their governments, they've lost faith in institutes. So I think potentially there's more good to come.
And Lisa, you've been quite an active Metaverse fan and participant.
I've been just running around in circles in all the metaverses, trying to figure out what you should be doing or what you shouldn't be doing, and going to events and going to festivals. And to be honest, I was blown away when I went to the music festival in Decentraland last year, because it kind of, for me, it brought physical artists into the metaverse. And I could see that people in the metaverse were dancing and interacting as their avatars. And then the physical artist was on the screen. And then you'd have NFTs, wearables come in, and you were able to put on a wearable of your as a fan of that artist. You were able to put on a wearable. And I was like, this is kind of the merging of the physical with the virtual. It really felt like it was all kind of coming together. And I felt like I could bring a piece of my physical identity with me. I could style my avatar the way I wanted and stuff. So I found that kind of fun. But then I spoke to someone, and she said, did you not feel a bit homeless in the metaverse?
Wow.
And I said, that's really interesting. That's a really interesting idea, that you could feel homeless in the metaverse. And I don't know, who was it we were talking to, Jill? An NFT project. And
Amnol.
And the more I thought about it, I was like, they're kind of right, because the metaverse as it stands is very much about commerce. So I couldn't get into a poker tournament unless I bought a wearable or bought some ice poker chips, and I love Miles, and I loved ice poker and Decentraland Games and what they're doing. But I still felt like I'm still an outsider, I want what Irina's talking about, the bigger vision. I want to be part of that, have maybe, let's say, if it's a green metaverse and we're all very interested in solving problems around sustainability, and you go into the metaverse and you test them out. You just test, how do we grow fruit in landscapes that normally wouldn't allow for oranges to grow. Like, in Ireland, we can't grow most fruits because it's too cold. Maybe we could test it in the metaverse in different degrees and see. So I do like the idea of getting back to the bigger vision stuff, if we can, or bigger values, being part of that bigger thing, I think. What do you think? I don't know.
Or imagine you can send tokens somewhere to a farm somewhere in a better climate condition. You can actually invest in growing that fruit, and it gets sent to you when it's ready. So,
yes.
This exchange on a personal level, not just as a corporation, as faceless, giant corporations that are moving commerce, moving agriculture, pharmaceutical industry, but being person to person, the peer to peer, when you help small communities to do something very, very important through the
That's very, very valid. I remember interviewing Jonathan, I forget his surname now, he's the Suku, which is a supply chain. And they were rewarding the farmers at the far end with a native token to provide the data that we as consumers in the Western world want to know about, was it, who owns it, and was it all fair trade and stuff like that. And he made a very good point. I think it comes to what you were saying there, Irina. He said, in addition, that the farmer could save up these tokens, and after a period, maybe they could, bring his wife or her husband out to dinner, do something like that, or they could use it to get a microloan. And he made the very valid point that really struck with me. And he went, of course, a microloan to a small farmer, maybe in, I don't know, Botswana, is a loan, pure and simple. And that 50 euros or whatever, which for us is like, no, it's a microloan. That's what, you take out of the cash machine, because they don't give anything smaller. And you might think, but for that person, that could be enough to buy the seed for the next crop. So that you're actually, I think we have to, and I love what you were saying, Irina, that peer-to-peer thing, where maybe somebody who has a disposable income, and it doesn't have to be huge, we're not talking about corporations and millionaires, but I might have an extra, 50 euros, and I go, do you know what? I might just sort of invest in that lemon farmer do farmers in Botswana do lemons? I don't think so, but in some part of the world, and I think the metaverse makes it more real. There's no, because you can actually, in time, I mean, someone said a metaverse is just, space on a computer, which it is, but then we're in space on a computer. But it's kind of nice to think that down the line, there could be lots of metaverses, and you just pop into one, and it's a local community. And I keep saying Botswana, I have no idea why, but it's a farming community or some sort of co-op, and they have their little metaverse there. You go in, you can buy stuff, and you can donate stuff, and you can talk to them or find out stuff. It's so immediate. I think that's why the metaverse, the promise of the metaverse, is going to be so powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if we talk about the metaverse as just the virtual world without the element of Web3 economy and tokens in it, then it's not different to Second Life or any other just gaming and experience. But then we're talking about bringing the Web2 internet from the sort of user perspective and interaction to the next level through virtual reality glasses. And what comes to my mind is a movie called Ghost in the Shell, when they were filming Hong Kong, and you had like all this, like virtual holograms, and artists could do their exhibition in the city. So like having a second layer of reality upon our real world, which does not require you to invest money in construction or expensive things, but you can create virtual things. And with glasses, you are able to see this,
and be completely immersed.
Yeah, art pieces, sculptures, anything you want. And it can be absolutely crazy, like something that we can't actually build in the real world because it's not sustainable, too expensive, impossible to construct. And then interact in our social networks on a different level, when you can touch things, when you can see things, when you can be inside of spaces, but then also having that level of Web3 economy where you can actually send money peer-to-peer, when we are in the centralized environment, or when you can be a bank for yourself, when you can be a commerce for yourself. So all these benefits of Web3, and then the new reality of the virtual worlds. This would be a fascinating world to live, because it's the world of opportunities, and it's a limitless space where everything is possible.
You've just reminded me of a professor I had in college in Trinity 30 odd years ago. So I presume he's a bit old, if not no longer with us. And he was an American professor. I think he taught Irish history, but he was quite eccentric, like most professors are, I think. And during the summer, he would take a month off, and he had rooms in college, and he would cycle around Ireland. But he had his stationary bike, like your exercise bike. And what he would do is he would order the local provincial papers of each county. So when he's cycling across Offaly, which is a county, he would be reading the Offaly Express, I don't know what it's called. So in his way, he was doing the original traveling in the metaverse, but using printed provincial papers posted to his rooms, so he could read, when he wasn't cycling around the countryside, he could read the local reports, what was happening. That's mad. So it's not so strange. It's just that digitally we've made it possible.
Yes.
And I think that's what the metaverse means for me. It's about building a community. And I think you're right, whether that's for good or an interest or a passion, that's really a space where you can go. And some people will go for escapism with their avatars and be the opposite to what they really look like in real life. And I think for people that are perhaps in rural communities where, I happen to live in London, so, I can just step out into the street and there's all the action, there's bars, there's clubs, there's coffee shops, etc. I can feel very connected and not so isolated. But for people in Kansas or Oklahoma or somewhere really remote, or even a rural village, local, the metaverse allows them to have that connectivity. And I think that's sort of a basic human sort of need. And I think we noticed that in the pandemic as well, because, communities came together, people that you wouldn't normally talk to or whatever, people came together when, it felt like the sky was falling in. So I think that's how I view the metaverse at the moment. And in my industry, because I put together conferences and what have you, I speak to quite a few of the larger firms, and I was just thinking about something that Walmart have been doing. I mean, IBM have been doing this on one of their platforms for a while. The farm to fork, the traceability of it's taken that step further, and quite a few people in the blockchain space are now, where they're actually giving that value right down to the local farmers, so they're not getting ripped off by the middlemen and the wholesaler. And there is this traceability, this trackability, and it's cutting out the middlemen to make sure that they get the full value of their produce, and that they're not ripped off along the way by the larger brands.
It's funny you say that, Corby, because when I was reading Arena's piece earlier, Arena called, and I'm quoting you, you called the blockchain technology the internet of value in comparison to Web 2, which is the internet of information. So it does have that value added deal attached to it, I think, the whole blockchain ecosystem, which is amazing for people that don't have anything, that they can step in.
And I suppose there were things, I mentioned about the astronauts and practicing in zero gravity rooms, whatever, before they go to space. I presume, maybe it's here already, do surgeons, for example, get to, I've always been amazed, how does a surgeon operate on a human body? It's all like mushy stuff. It's not even like the squares and labels. This is the kidney. They're all mushy. So presumably, and perhaps if this exists already, you could use a metaverse, some kind, to go in and do your operations, all the squishy bits, to get the feeling of what it might be like. I don't know. I think there's a whole rake of things you could do learning and.
Yeah, I mean, in the Internet of Things space, it's called digital twins. They use it a lot in manufacturing. So it's almost like you create a digital twin of what you're doing, and then you can test out, like we said earlier, different scenarios. Predictive analysis. You can find out what would happen if this happened, that happened. So there is that sort of, but it's on the factory floor, and I think that it's used in oceanology as well. So it's used a little bit more in geography cases, but. Yeah, no, I'm all for blockchain for good, and that's really why I got drawn into the space, because anything that spreads the love's got to be good.
Yeah, and actually, Lisa and I were having a demonstration. We're not really big gamers, although Lisa does like to go into Decentraland parties. But we were giving away your secrets now, Lisa. But we were watching Alien World, which is the biggest game at the moment in terms of, I think, users. I know Axie Infinity is huge, but Alien World is massive. And we were given a walkthrough. And it's more of a flat metaverse. One of the things that struck us when we were being walked through what you could do, but how you know where to mine the 6 planets, and there's also missions and ships, and you've got machinery and all sorts of stuff. We were just saying, oh my goodness, we were being taught maths. Maths. That's what it was. It was maths. But it was all with spaceships and mining and earning money. And you actually earn money. And I thought, whoa, isn't that a great way to teach? I mean, kids, we all know now education is so outdated. It was set up to teach kids to, go into factories. We know it's, and learning by rote is ridiculous, and having to do exams at the end of your thing are ridiculous. We know that. But maybe the metaverse, we get some of these metaverses into the schools so the kids could learn maths and earn some money in alien worlds, for example.
Well,
I'd be interested.
Yeah, I mean, the play to win, play to earn games like Axie, for example. I mean, I think they've done an incredible amount for the underdeveloped countries around the world, and I've heard 2 sides to that, so I need to read a little bit more on the other view. But I mean, that again is empowering the citizen. It's like Plastic Bank. It's like these initiatives where people are being rewarded for doing something good to the environment, and having the ability to earn as well. And I think that sort of leveling up that everyone talks about is really where blockchain technology, I feel, can help. Or is helping already. I mean, there's a lot of case studies. So yeah, the metaverse and the playing to earn.
And now there's all learning to earn too, as well. It's a whole new phenomenon coming through.
Yeah.
Which I think actually makes sense, because how are we going to inspire our kids? Well, actually, Lisa has a little. How old is Alana?
Alana's 18 months.
18 months. Wow. So when she goes to school, oh my goodness, because Corby, your child is a bit older. And mine, of course, are grown up. So. But it's like when they get to school, how will they learn, and how much will they learn? Because how babies, you hear them, babies get a magazine, and
Yes.
they're pinching it to try and make the picture big and small because they don't realize it's not a smart screen. It's just like babies. Like, I'm sure if you give Alana a magazine, she'd be like, going, "What's the matter, mommy? It's not getting bigger." If she could speak. So it is interesting how we can use the metaverse to, I mean, we were saying for good causes, digital twins, more practical, thinking about who the world is, because people think oftentimes that tech is bad, don't they? They have big tech and we don't like it and control. People say, "Oh, who wants to live in a digital world?" But maybe, not maybe, there is definitely something that we can use metaverses and our digital worlds to enhance what's happening in the physical world. And they say the last 2 years has given us a chance to slow down a bit and maybe think about it.
Well, it's I was saying to Jill yesterday, this is kind of like a bottom-up approach to education, because the students are coming to us and saying, we want lectures in blockchain. We want, to be taught about Web3 technology and what's happening and tokenization and all the different things that come along with it. But the resources aren't there at the moment. So it's the students that are going to be teaching, us to come along for the ride, or, the adults to come along for the ride, I think. Some of them are amazing.
Absolutely. I think the education, I mean, the digital literacy in the UK is really low. And I couldn't believe that. I mean, I've been talking about this since my son was 5 with his headmaster, because the digital literacy somewhere like in Estonia is really quite high, because they put it on the national curriculum for age 5. It was compulsory. And going around all the world to these global conferences, I see different people from all around the world, and I realise how far behind our curriculum is. It is very much taught to test, because they've got crazy now with all their grades and their marking. No one's actually learning anything that needs to be revamped. This conversation, I was having this conversation with Jamie Burke at City AM conference back in the summer last year, and he just said, it's been so frustrating that academia, and it's not the academics, it's the governments behind the agendas are not shaking things up. So it's frustrating, really.
Irene, I might give you the last word. Do you, in terms of education, and in your role, you got the best title of all of us, head of the metaverse. I mean, I want that title.
So it's such a good title.
It's open source, right? So anybody can have it.
You might steal it. So is education something that comes across the unique platform or your daily work? Is something that you get asked about?
Well, community helps a lot. And like my journey in the blockchain began with the community and Polkadot community and an ambassador program. And just kind of entering the space really motivates you to learn more about finance, because if we talk about traditional finance, things are very robust there. The financial sector was being built, the banking, for years and centuries, and it's very difficult now for somebody new or young to come into the space and just kind of learn on your own how to do, how to earn interest and how to do investment, whereas in the blockchain space, it is still fairly easy. You can educate yourself about stable coins and yield farming and all the financial instruments that actually work for you, and they work way better than a bank. Of course, there is high risk involved. You need to do a lot of research. It's kind of a wild west in a way, but the space, the community really motivates you, and everybody in there is keen to learn and explore what are the opportunities and how can we, transform the financial system to make it work for us as people, as opposed to just, put your money in a bank with the 0.25% interest and basically it just doesn't help your financial well-being in any way anymore. Because if we look at interest rates, even those that the banks were giving 20, 30 years ago, it was a very, very different world. So community and self-education is very interesting topic and environment in the Web3 space. And there are lots of programs that are free, like Web3 Foundation has a blockchain program, MIT has a free blockchain program. There are hundreds of courses by different universities and also webinars. And also what is very exciting is that in the Web3 space, you can easily connect to founders. By joining Telegram groups, Discord channels, you can actually contact with the founders. Like I always say, like imagine you find, a CEO of HSBC Bank on a Discord. Like, impossible. But you can find the CEO of Aave, which is the DeFi protocol, on Discord, on Twitter, on social media, and at all of these meetups. And they're very approachable. And they actually are there to educate you how to, use this technology for good, for your financial prosperity, and how to build a business. And these founders, they also invest in startups, they invest in young teams, they're very open to innovation. So it's totally different, the opposite world of what the traditional industries like real estate, banking offer to young people. It's very open. It's like, come in here, learn, share your ideas, build something amazing, build something innovative, we will help you.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And I think that goes to core what you were saying, to good causes.
Absolutely.
That's why you're in this space. That's why I think we're all in this space, because we love it. It's exciting, but we like the good causes.
Absolutely. The transparency, I think that's what's really quite key. The trust, really. I mean, it's like today, it's just, I think that's what I love about this space, to have all the sectors I've worked in industry. It's very collaborative. It's very sharing, and I like that, whereas you've worked in other industries where it can be, I come from a media background, I think you do too, Jill, it's quite backstabbing, and it was very, get to the top, get your race for yourself kind of thing. And I think what I like about the blockchain community is it is really about collaboration, holding hands, building that ecosystem, sharing ideas. And I think I see a lot of that in Gen Z, the younger generation, where they're more into hey, how about you doing this? I'll do that. Let's see what we come up with, whereas perhaps the previous generation X, was working a little bit more in silos and trying to get to the top of their own career. Whereas now I think there's a lot more holding hands, which is great.
Yeah, my friends were always looking for the ladders, and I was like, where are the ladders? What are you talking about? I can't see any ladders, and then my ladders aren't going anywhere. Like this,
you're on the slides. You're on the slides. Snakes and ladders.
And that's the beauty of teamwork, actually, because everybody's good at something. But I think the previous sort of 2 generations was always, you've got to be great at everything, and you can't be. So take what you're really good at, put it on the table, and link up with somebody else, and before you know it, you've got something that you're developing together.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. Well, I've really enjoyed this. Is like, we should do this at a later time and have wine.
I know, that's all we're missing.
A relaxed evening on a Friday or something should be good. Yeah.
I really enjoyed our talk today, because it's nice when you get 4 women together. We're talking about stuff. It's important, but
Absolutely.
we come back to collaborative, good causes. I think that these are conversations that don't necessarily come organically from male-led conversations. Not anti-men, but I think women are good at being nurturing in general. Yeah. It's only because I'd be a terrible nurse myself. So anyway, so thank you everybody for our Blocks and Frocks today. It'll be on YouTube afterwards. And thank you so much for sharing. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for Lisa, Jill. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.